Hi everyone, it's Arlene Smith and I'm presenting my next free make and take video. I hope you all enjoy it. Tonight we're going to be working on the Duncan Spoonrest. It's the Talavera series that they have, and they have a whole collection of the Talavera, which includes not only the Spoonrest, but I believe there is a luncheon plate, a dinner plate, a bowl, a round platter, and an oval platter, and if I missed anything, I'm sorry, but I think that's it. But what's nice about these, let me show you this one up close. You can see the design is already carved into the piece, and on each one of the pieces that they have has a different Talavera design on it. So you could make a very unique dinnerware set by using the Talavera series by Duncan. Tonight we're going to be, let me kind of pan down here. Tonight we're going to be using Duncan's Courtyards, and this one I'm using is 108, which is cactus, which is this light background. I've also done it with the cactus sand, or cactus, which I think is 117. I think it's 117. This is 108 for the cactus. The cactus sand is 118 or I think it's 117. I don't have all of those memorized. And of course we're going to be using easy strokes on top of the Courtyards. And what's unique about the Courtyards, let me talk a little bit about that before we start the project. But you're also going to need a sponge. We're going to use 3 brushes, which is the Duncan SB 807 fan glaze brush. We're going to be using the Duncan Signature Brush 602 liner, and also the SB 808 number 4 round. Then I'm going to you're going to need an eyedropper, water, a sponge, and then here's a new little toy that I found. I'm sure all of you have seen me using the Easy Dots before, which are exactly like these, except there's 2 of them, and there's 4 on each disc. And my problem with that is I'm always losing one of them. I like this because it has all 8 on one little disc. And these can be bought from Bisque Imports. However, unless you're a wholesaler or a business, you can't buy directly from them. So I'm going to have these on my website shortly. And you got to be patient with me, guys, on my website, which is arlened.com, because it has not been updated for a while, and that's quite an undertaking, and so I'm in the process of updating it, so please be patient. So anything that you want, that you see that I sell on my website, you can also email me, and I can ship it to you. Excuse me. So, and let's get started. So I have my Spoonrest here already with 2 coats on the top and 3 coats on the back. And because this is a Courtyard glaze, which is an art glaze, excuse me, and an art glaze means that time, temperature, and application will change the look. So painting it on with a brush will look different than if you sponge it on. I personally like the sponge on look the best if I'm not doing the Majolica type technique, but because we're painting on top, this is just brushed on. You also need to make sure, if you can see here, you can still see this has 2 coats on it, and you can still see my design, which is really, really important. So it means that you're going to have to make sure that your Courtyards, when you open them up, are the right consistency for brushing on, or otherwise you'll put it on so heavy that you won't be able to see the design. Okay? So let's talk a little bit about the consistency. And I have a palette knife here. So I've already mixed this up. So you can see this is pretty liquid. It actually just kind of flows off of the palette knife. You also want to make sure that it flows off the brush. So see how it runs off that brush? That's just the right consistency. And this will be the same for almost all glazes. However, Courtyards as well as satin glazes and your art glazes, a lot of them have a tendency to thicken up in the jar, and so they're more like, I want to say, like marshmallow than they are like glaze, so you need to add some water to them to make sure that they are of the right brush-on consistency. You also need to make sure when you put them on with your fan brush, let me get my fan brush here, get the water out of it, is you want to make sure when you put it on, okay, to go back and look, and if it looks like it's built up in the crevices, you want to take your brush and go back this way to make sure that you don't have a lot of buildup in those crevices. So you want to go along with how the detail is so that you can make sure there's not a whole lot of buildup. And you'll be able to tell, because you should actually be able to see the design work on this piece after it's been glazed. Okay? So with that being said, let's get busy painting. Okay, so I'm going to start with the biggest flower here. I'm going to start with these big petals right here. Okay, that's what I'm going to start with. And I actually have 3 colors on my brush at the same time, which is neon yellow, neon orange, and passion red. Passion red. So these are the 3 colors that I'm going to be using to start. So we have yellow, orange, and red. So I'm going to put some out on my palette. Now, the other thing I want to show you, you know how you get gunky on the top of all of your bottles all the time? If you take the bottle and turn it upside down, then squeeze, then stop squeezing and turn it right side up, you don't get any of that nasty buildup on the top of your bottle that we all get. And I absolutely hate that when I go to open a bottle and somebody has got the top is all nasty and the top don't close. And what happens when the top don't close is the paint begins to dry out a little bit. Perhaps you need a little more yellow than that. So myself a little more yellow. There we go. And then last but not least is the red. And some of your easy strokes, I'm sure you use of those who are used to using easy strokes. See how that red is? It is so much thicker than the other 2. Well, when you use easy strokes, the important thing to remember is that all easy strokes need to be the same consistency, all the colors. So the one that's a little more thicker, you're going to have to add probably an extra drop of water to. So I'm going to take my little eyedropper and I'm going to add a couple of drops of water to each one, and I'm going to add an extra one to this red because it's thicker. And I'm going to take my palette knife and I'm going to mix them up. Remember, don't mix your paints with your brushes unless you happen to own the brush company and you don't mind selling yourself more brushes. Or like me, if on brushes I sell, if you want to ruin them, it's okay. We've got more to sell, same as Duncan does too. But you know what? You invest a lot of money in these brushes, so if you take care of them, they'll last you a long, 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 long time. I've got some brushes I've had for years and years and years. And the only thing you notice on them is if they were the old wooden handles, the paint's coming off of them, or if they're the newer plastic handles, the paint's not coming off, but the hairs themselves are wearing down. Okay, so let's get started. So I think if I hold it this way, you guys will be able to see what I'm doing. So right along here is the large flower. So I'm going to load first in the yellow. And remember, you always condition your brush first. So my brush has already been in the water. So put it in the water and then wipe it off on a paper towel. I'm going to side load in the orange. So you can see I have, can you see that? I'm trying to look at the camera. I have orange on one half and yellow on the other. And then I'm going to tip it in the red. Now remember, the last color on is the first color off. So if I start at the base of this petal, put my brush down, press it down, and pull up to the point. Okay, I probably don't need to add any more of the yellow or orange, just a little bit of the red, and do the other half. Okay, all right, so there's petal number 1. Okay, petal number 2. Side load. Oops, I gotta weight that down, it's moving on me. Side load. And make sure you have a nice point on your brush. Tip. Okay, then I'm going to go here And I'm going to go tip, press, pull, and lift back to the point. Add a little more red on there. And I'm going to tip, press, and I'm kind of pushing it out so that I can get this all done in 2 strokes. So if you fan the brush out, if you set it down and fan the brush out, the brush will get fatter and you can make a wider stroke, okay? So that's number 2. So load, side load, and tip. And again, down at the bottom, press, pull, and lift. Add a little more red to it. Press, pull, and lift. Okay, I'm going to do this again. And you're going to do it on all these large petals. Okay. And a number 4 round is probably as big a brush as you'll need. You need to get comfortable though with pushing down on that brush to make it fan out so that you can do the strokes, and you can do each petal in 2 strokes, okay? Some of us have a tendency to not press down, and so we get little tiny strokes. Remember, with easy strokes, because it's 1 coat, we're only going to be using 1 coat on all of this, the brush strokes actually show. So you want to make sure that you keep it as clean as possible. Okay, next one. And lift, tip it, press, pull, and lift. Now there's a little tiny leaf right there. I don't think you guys can see it, but you'll see it when I paint it. And that's easy to miss. Let me turn this so I can see it. There it is right there. So tip, press, and pull. Okay, so there is the petals to the largest flower. I gotta see if I can, I never know which way to go, guys. I feel so stupid when it comes to the camera, not knowing which way to go. I know it's the opposite way of what I'm looking. Okay, so that's the large petals. Now down here on the bottom is another, like the center of the flower here, all right? We're going to do it the same way. Let me rinse my brush out. Okay, so but this time I'm going to start at the fat part of the petal and pull towards the center. So I'm going to load again with the yellow. So this will make the red at the top of the petal rather than at the base of the petal. And tip it in red. And I'm going to go, let me see if I can get it where you guys can see it here. Tip, press, pull. Okay, let me go back. I can probably do 1 more without reloading the brush because these are small. Just put a little more red on. Tip, press, pull. Now I'm going to reload again. Side load. Tip. And I'm going to do tip. Smush my brush out, make it fat like that petal, and pull. Okay, I'm going to put a little more red on there. And tip, press, pull. And I have 1 more. Make sure you guys can see what I'm doing here without sticking my fingers in the paint. And tip, press, pull. Okay, so now we have the center of the large flower done, and we have the large petals on the flower done. Okay, so that's the only ones we're going to use with all 3 colors here. Now on the center here, let me show you. On this part right here, the part that goes around just below the big petals, okay, but not all the way up to them. So let me paint it. So I'm going to take just yellow, load my brush with yellow. I'm going to take yellow and I'm just going to paint in slowly. I'm going to go down between those little petals. If you find it easier to do, you could actually paint this part first and then go back and paint your other petals on top. If you find it easier to do, there's no right or wrong here. We just want to make sure there's no white showing. Then I'm going to go back and I'm going to fill in that whole section all the way up to here. And you guys see here what I'm doing with this yellow? Get a little closer maybe. So I'm filling in this whole section here. Turn it this way. And okay. I see a little white spot right there. You want to make sure you don't have any white spots showing. Okay. So there we go. So then we have the yellow part in. All right. So now I'm going to take and I'm going to add some chartreuse green to my palette. And I'm also going to add, I don't need a whole lot yet, so I'll put out more when I need it. And I also need a little bit of, where's it at, 28, which is leaf green. Just a tab. And a little bit of roasted chestnut, and this one is probably going to be a little thicker than usual, but let me shake it up good here. Okay, so roasted chestnut. Now, because I have very little paint in these, and you can see how thick that is, it's like bird poop. That's probably the best descriptive word I could come up with. So this one I'm going to add just one drop, and 2 drops. Okay, because I can always go back with the brown and add more if I need to, but as long as I get it the same consistency as all my other colors, I'm good. Yeah, this one. And this one. Okay, so now with the chartreuse green, I'm going to take my brush, and if you want, you could use a liner brush to do this with. I'm going to paint that little strip that's below the large petals and just above the area I just painted. So if you're more comfortable doing this with a liner brush, please feel free to do that. My motto is use the biggest brush you can use to do what you're doing. And you know, if you work with the tip of the round brush, you should be able to do it just as well as you do with the liner. Just make sure you don't hold it flat and work really flat. You're going to have to stay right up on the tippy toe of that brush. If you guys like this technique, let me know, because I have a large platter. I think I have both the round platter and the oval platter done with this kind of a technique too. So if you'd like to do that, I'm going to turn this so I can point the brush towards these little areas. Let me know, because I can do a video on those as well, so if it helps you. If you're not comfortable with just taking this and doing it on other pieces, I'd be happy to do that too. Just let me know. So I'm just going back and making sure I have all the white filled in. Okay, wait, a spot there. Make sure you go over the edge here a little bit. Alright, now we're going to rinse the brush out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back, and if you look at this one, I don't know if you can see it or not. Let me see if I can get it closer. On the green area, I've shaded it with the darker green, and on the yellow, I've shaded it with the roasted chestnut. So let me do the roasted chestnut first, because that'll be the easiest for you to see. So I'm going to just take my brush, and I am going to just load it with water. I'm not going to load it with, if it's easier for you, load it in the chartreuse, or load it in the yellow, and then go in and put it into the roasted chestnut. But I'm just going to do what I call a float stroke, which means you load the brush with water and you corner load with the color. So let me see if I can get this to where you guys can see what I'm doing here. So I'm going to keep the dark towards the top, and I'm just going to shade right along there. And if you don't make it all the way, that's okay. You can always go back and load your brush again if you need to. Okay? So you can see here how I've shaded the top of the yellow. Now I'm going to shade the bottom part of the green the same way. I'm going to load with water, tap it on my palette. Let me see if I can get this without dipping into the red. Blend you over here a little bit. Okay. Now I'm going to turn this way, and I'm going to do the bottom of this one. Up, I need a little bit more. All right. Okay. So now we have the big flower all done except for doing the dots on it. So let's go to, let me see. Let's go to, let me move this over. I want to go to the other flower over here next. And it's done with, I'm going to pull that over and I'm going to add blue. I'm going to add neon blue to my palette. Don't need a whole lot. Add a drop of water. Mix it up. Okay. Now I'm gonna tell you here, because this can be confusing to people. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 sections on that brush. I mean on that flower. So if you start with the flower that's down in the bottom and work your way up, it'll come out right. Where you come out to where you have every other color. Because I did, on one of them I did blue up here, and by the time I got down here I didn't have a blue flower, I had an orange flower. So on this one I started with the blue and I ended with the orange. This time on this one I'm going to do just the opposite so you can see the difference. And I'm going to grab my, where's my brush, right here. I'm going to start with the orange, and just to make it a little bit different, it's not like this in your instructions, but I'm going to show you how to do it, because this has 1, 2, 3, and it doesn't have one here, but I'm going to make one up right there, so it has 4 petals. So I want it to be orange, so I'm going to load with the orange. Okay, oops, I just dropped my paint on the floor. Load with the orange, and I'm going to start here. I'm going to go press and lift. Now if you wanted to, you could actually tip some red in here and make this like the bottom one was. But I'm just going to make it, I want to make sure I go over the edge here. Okay? And so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my blue, and the blue is going to go, I'm trying to put it where you can see it and I can see the marks too. I think that's good right there, yeah. I keep looking over at the camera, guys, to make sure I've got it where you can see it. So I'm going to kind of outline this right here. And if you want to do this with your liner brush, that's okay. Okay. And we're going to go back, and we're going to fill in. Oh, I'm going to tip a little bit of water in that. That was not quite thin enough. Because when I feel my brush dragging, I know the paint's not thin enough. So I need to go back and add a little bit of water to it. Because remember, we're only using 1 coat. Now I'm going to tell you guys, you know, I always say use 1 coat, and for people who've been painting a long time, that's an easy thing to do. But for those of you who are just starting out, especially with the easy strokes, if you feel, if it looks really streaky to you, go back and put a 2nd coat on. It's not like the, you know, underglaze cops are going to come get you. Nobody's going to arrest you. Until you're comfortable that 1 coat is enough, I'd rather have you add 2 coats. The secret is that you got to make sure that your paints are the right consistency, so that you're not, because easy strokes, if they're put on too heavy, they have a tendency to bubble. and sometimes they'll lift off. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. Get that rounded right there a little bit more, and right there a little bit more. Okay, so let me see here. So can you see that? Okay, so now the next one's going to be orange. So keep looking over, guys, to see if you can see what I'm doing here. It was so much easier when I have my wonderful little hubby here, because he could always keep the camera to where it was on what I'm doing. And he could adjust it to whatever he needed to do to adjust it to make sure. So this is a learning curve for me to try to figure how I can best manipulate the camera and paint and have you guys be able to see what I'm doing all at the same time. Okay, now I can see on this one, I don't know if you can see it or not, right there it looks really streaky right here. So I'm going to go back over there and just do a little bit right over that. So if it looks streaky, go back and put another coat on. We don't want any streaky looking stuff, and make sure your things are nice and rounded. Now the reason I'm changing this on this one compared to the other one is because let me show you the original one. The original one, I have the orange next to the orange and yellow petals. On this one, I'm going to have the blue, so I think it'll show up better by changing it. That's why I'm changing it on this one. So if you want to change it on yours, please feel free to do so. So the last one's going to be blue again. So I'm going to start here and make sure I go on the outside rim of all these little humps, or scallops, or whatever you want to call them. I always come up with new ceramic terms, you know. Whatchamajig, thingamajigs, smooshes. I try to come up with descriptive words. Okay, so you can probably see already that that shows up much better against this flower than on this one. But it's personal preference, whatever you want to do. There's, like I said, there's no ceramic police. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to go down between each one of these. Get my hand out of your way. Okay. All right. Oops, see, I see right here is looks a little streaky right there. So I think the blue is a little more translucent than the orange. Or it could be that I had a little more water added to it, one or the other. But like I say, go back and put a second coat on if you need a second coat, okay? So now we have that great big flower done. Now I don't know if you can see it on my piece here, but let me show you on this piece. There are, see the little stars here? There's like, see, I need to go this way with my finger. There's 1, and then 2, and then 3, and 4, and 5, and then over here is like a, I call it like the sunburst of the Arizona flag. I did the dot in the center of that yellow also, but that's up to you. So what I'm going to do is take my liner brush this time, and with the yellow, I'm going to make that little guy right here, this little round guy, yellow, and then there's one right here. Okay. And then there's one right here. And one right here. Okay, and there's one more right there, right here. And the last one is right here. Okay, so now we have all those stars painted, all right? So now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do the leaves. And I want you to look at this guy because the leaves, the stem and the veins of the leaves are basically left with the background color, okay? So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take my number 4 liner, and with the chartreuse green, and I'm not sure this will be enough, but we'll see. The chartreuse green, I'm going to start and I'm going to go one coat on each one of the petals. Let me see, where are we at here? When I get this, maybe this will be better for you guys. And so I'm painting upside down, so you'll be painting the opposite way when you're painting. Okay. Sorry, I have to keep tipping it so I can see where the lines are. Maybe if I do it this way. Let me see if I do it this way. I can see the lines better. Okay. And now these get to be fat stripes, so I'm going to go here. And then I'm going to turn it. And I got to do some more green. And I'm going to go here. You want to make sure that you're pulling the same way all the time, because like I said, the brush strokes are going to show. So you don't want to go this way and this way. You want to make sure you're going the same direction all the time. Okay? I need to get some more chartreuse out here. Okay, add some water. And mix it up. Okay. All right. So I'm here. And here. You won't have near this much trouble because you'll have the piece will be flat and you'll be able to see where the marks are easily. Okay. Now I'm going to turn and go this way because I'm going to leave that bottom section till I'm doing that the very last. And here. Now this very last section, which is like right here, you can see goes all the way around, okay? So I'm going to start with the skinny part up here and go around that little circle section, okay? Now this one direction is going to start this way. As it comes around, it's going to go the other direction. Okay. All right. I just want to make sure I've got it down over the sides good. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to shade each one of those. And it doesn't make any difference what side you pick. You just need to make sure you stay the same all the way around. And I'm going to put some of the other green out here, so I'm not trying to fight those colors on that other palette. Okay, so now here again, you could load with the chartreuse if you wanted to. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. Whoop, I keep trying to knock the paints off. So you could load with, some people find it easier to do this, and if you're more comfortable, that's quite all right. And then side load. And then what you're going to do is you're going to pick a side, and you're going to shade that one side. Can you see that? Okay, see where it's shaded on the one side? So I'm going to stay with that same side all the way along here. So here and here. Okay, that one could be just a little bit whiter. A little bit whiter right there. Oh, I made a boo-boo. That's okay, I can fix it. Take some of the other color and go over top of it. Okay? So now we're going to go to this other side, and because I have them on the bottom here, I'm going to, with this one, I'm going to stay on the bottom as well. So here's going to be up here on this top part is going to be, I got to weight this down so it quits moving on me. Okay. So here, I'm going to go here, because this is going the same direction. I'm going to go here. Okay. And I'm going to go here. Because this is actually part of what's down here. So on this one, I'm going to go to the bottom. So here we're going to go, I'm going to turn my brush over, and I'm going to go here. So it's like the light is hitting up here, so it's going to be dark all the way down. And here. And here. Now if it seems like you're getting a stripe, just take a little bit of your lighter green, go back and just pull it over top and blend that in. Okay? There's no right or wrong here. You can always fix it. Okay? Alright, now on this big fat one at the bottom, what I'm going to do is I'm going to literally start here and just go around on that part right there, and I'll show you what I mean here. Okay, so we're going to start here. Get the right side down. Okay, I'm going to start here. And I'm going to go all the way around. Turn my brush. And finish up here. Just like that. Okay? Alright? So now we have that all done. So the last thing we need to do here is dots. Now you can opt to do the roasted chestnut dots if you choose. I used black because I wanted them to show up more. So when you're doing with the jot thing, when you're doing with that dot maker, you don't need to thin the paint down. Okay. Oh, yes I do, just a little bit, because that was kind of thick when it came out. So just a drop. Okay. So that will determine what you do. If it seems to be like it's a little thick when it comes out, then you need to add a little bit to it. Yeah. Okay, then I'm going to take my little guy here. I'm going to move this over, and I'm going to move this over so you can see better what I'm doing. I think if I move it up closer, it'll be better for you, okay? So I'm going to start with the big petals, all right? And these are what I call graduated dots. So when you do graduated dots, I'm going to pick the number 5. When you do graduated dots, you start with dot, and you just keep going, and you keep getting smaller as you go, okay? So that's graduated dots. So that's what I'm going to be doing on these here. And I'm going to go down right down the center. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I'm going to load up again, and I'm going to go 1, oops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, make sure you get it loaded. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And on the edge here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that's on the big petals. Okay? So you can see how that's on the big petals. Now the next place I did them was around between the yellow and the green circles. So I'm going to take, and they're actually on the green part. But these are not going to be graduating. These are going to be just regular dots. So I'm going to take and go load my dot maker each time. And you can have as few as you want or as many as you want. Just remember you got to load the tool each time you do it when you want the same size dots all around. Okay. And almost done here. Oh, got that one. Oh, I got that one a little bit close. That's all right. That's all right. This is art. It's not perfect. Okay, then the last part we're going to do is on the small little flowers, but I'm going to use a smaller tool. So I'm going to go from the one I was using, which is, whoops, let me wipe that one off, which is a number 5. I'm going to go down to number 3, and I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to go from the outside down. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. Make sure you don't stick your finger in the paint. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. All right. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do my little flower over here. And I think I'm going to stay with the number 3. And I'm going to go 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. And 1, 2. Then what I'm going to do on the bigger part is I'm going to stay on and put it in where the scallops are. So this one's down, this one's up, this one's down, this one's up, this one's down, this one's up, this one's down, and up, and down, and up, and down. Oops, I missed that one there. Up, and up. And then I'm going to do the same thing kind of on the orange ones, except I'm going to go kind of in between, but closer to the top. So here, oh, let me turn so you can see it. So here, 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 and then I'm going to go back and do in between. And then on the very bottom one, it's going to be kind of the same thing. Okay? And if you want more, you can add more. If you want less, you can add less. So let me show you. Okay? All right, so now the last thing we need to do here is I actually have some little tiny dots. Well, not next to the last because I'm going to do the leaves, but I think I need more, need to put this paint more in a pile here. And I have a fan going here, so it has a tendency to dry it out just a little bit. Yeah, just a drop. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to use the same tool, and I'm going to do a dot in the center of that one, in the center of this one. I'm going to try not to stick my fingers in the dots. That's the hardest thing. I have a tendency to do that. Okay, now what we're going to go is we're going to go down to the leaves. And the leaves again are graduating dots. So I'm going to go back up to the number 5. And I'm going to do, and I'm going to stay kind of in the center, I guess I would say. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4 on that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on that one. And then 1 here. And 1, 2, 3. Oops. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me come back to that one in a second, so I'm going to stick my fingers in it. 1, whoop, more paint. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, bigger, 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 bigger. Okay, and then I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. And 1, 2, 3. Okay, let me show you now. Alright, so here we go. So now this piece is all done. The only thing you need to do is put your name on it somewhere, the back or the front, whichever you want. Let it dry overnight so that the dots are really dry and the glaze is really dry. I always wait overnight before I fire my stuff. This does not need to be glazed. Let me turn this camera back up. This does not need to be glazed. It does not need to be glazed, so it can go directly into your kiln and it's going to fire to cone 06. Now remember, I told you time, temperature, and application make a difference. So let me tell you just one of the little pitfalls you need to remember. If you're doing a piece with Courtyards and you have like a cup and a saucer, or a teapot with a lid, or some kind of a container with a lid, you need to make sure that those two pieces are on the same shelf in your kiln, okay? Because remember, heat, well, it depends on if you have one of those fan things on there, but heat in a regular kiln will rise. So the top of the kiln is hotter than the bottom. So if I have one piece down here and another piece up here, this one's going to be cooler and this one's going to be hotter if the heat rises. And trust me, there will be, when you put them together, there will be a difference in color. So make sure that if you're firing, you put them on the same shelf. If you're taking them somewhere, or you have someone at your club or wherever is doing it, to make sure that they put both pieces on the same shelf, okay? I hope you guys all had a great time. I know I did. I'm sorry I'm so slow about this, but let me just throw one of my excuses out. It's both my air conditioners went out last week and I had to have them replaced. And it was so blasted hot, there was no way I was going to do anything in the heat because the house was hot. But now I'm nice and cool and I have brand new air conditioners, so everything is cool, and hopefully we'll get back to doing things the way we're supposed to. So with that, I'm going to say good night, God bless, and we'll see you next time.